Hello, BookTube. Hello, friends. Welcome to Lizziefaye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and I'm giving up my Sunday afternoon nap today to share with you what I read in the month of January. Yes, it is Sunday afternoon, February the 2nd. It is Groundhog Day, and I don't think I've seen my shadow today. I don't know what the groundhog saw, but it's been a little gray here today, and I would love to take a nap, but if I don't get this done now, I don't know when I'll get it done. Hopefully it won't be a super long video. I didn't really finish a super amount of books in the month of January, at least not compared to what I usually do. I didn't spend a lot of time with audiobooks in January. I tried to catch up on a little bit of BookTube, and I sort of, fell down a couple of rabbit holes with various other YouTube channels and things like that. So I did have a good month, and I ended up finishing a total of 16 books. 7 were on audio, 9 were in print, and really it would have only been 7 in print, but right near the end of the month, I picked up a couple of children's Christmas books from the library. One that I had ordered back in December and it hadn't come yet, and another that I just wanted to read because I found that I had it marked on my Goodreads as read, but I didn't remember it. So I went ahead and ordered that too, and I read those both on the same day. So real quick, let me just share with you what I read in the month of January. Now, I did a kind of a mid-month wrap-up where I talked about everything I was reading. I actually carried over more books from January into February than I think I ever have in all the time that I've been using Goodreads to track my reading. I carried over 9 books from January into February. And really, for all intents and purposes, it would be 10, except that I have one book I'm intending to read all year that I don't even have on there. And that's a little devotional book that I'm reading with Emily. I did put one of her devotional books on there, but we're reading 2, and I just didn't put the other one on there because, I don't know, I just don't need it to clog up my list all year long, because I already have 2 other books on my currently reading list that I am going to be reading all year. So of the books I carried over, 3 of the ones on my currently reading list I'm planning to leave on there all year long. And then 3 of them that I carried over were books that I thought I would finish in the month of January, and I just didn't. And one of them was even an audiobook, a short audiobook. I just couldn't get it done. And then the other 3 were some that I knew it would probably take me a little bit longer because I'm just kind of dipping in and out of those. So let me focus on what I finished. There were 3 nonfiction titles that I finished, 6 mystery titles that I finished, and most of those were cozy. A couple of them were probably not cozy, but not super gritty either, so we'll just say 6 mysteries. And then the 2 children's books I mentioned, 1 book of short stories, 2 romances, and 1 historical fiction book, and 1 just weird book. And y'all know which one I'm talking about there probably if you saw my mid-month wrap-up. Okay, or it was a mid-month update. Anyway, then within that, 2 of them were for book club, and we have already discussed those. We've had those book club meetings, and when I do my February TBR, or what I'm reading in February, I'll share with you what book club books I'm reading in February. Then of the 16 books that I finished, 4 of them had a Christmas theme. And I actually thought that I would read more Christmas books than 4 in the month of January, because there are still several books that I would love to read. And I don't know if I'll pick any of those up in February or not. I'm not super concerned about reading seasonally. It is enjoyable to be able to read with the seasons, but I don't adhere to that. I'm perfectly fine with reading things out of season and reading a Christmas book in March, if I need to or if I want to. So, if I do that, then that's what I'll do. But as of right now, I don't have any specific ones on my TBR for February. So the 3 nonfiction books I read, one of them was a devotional book. Now, I mentioned I've got 2 devotional books that I'm carrying over all year, but one that I read that was just a 30-day devotional book is this one by Candace Cameron Bure. Now, I had said that I thought this was part of a bigger series, and it looks like from what I read in the back that the series is actually other devotional books that are also by Candace Cameron Bure. And this one is called Wild Hope, and it was very good. I enjoyed it a lot. I think I would like for my daughter to read this one. And when she is done with it, then I've got another friend that I think I may send it to at some point. But for now, I have finished it, and I thought it was very, very good. And if you're wondering, each chapter had 3 2-page spreads. The first 2-page spread was all scripture. And then on the next page, there was a note from Candace, and then some thought-provoking questions. And then the next page after that had more thought-provoking questions, and then kind of a call to action. So that's how it was laid out. It's a 30-day devotional, and I thought it was very good. Now, the other 2 nonfiction books had to do with productivity and time management and decluttering and things like that. The first one I read was Year of No Clutter. It's a memoir by Eve O. Schwab. And I talked a little bit more about this in my mid-month January update. And then I also mentioned this one too, and I did finish this one. I read this one in print. This is Time Management for Unmanageable People by Anne McGee Cooper. And I thought this was enjoyable. There were times when I got a little bit bored. It was a little too left brain, but it really is good in that it teaches you how to have a balance if you tend to just kind of be fly by the seat of your pants type person, free thinking, creative, and have a hard time adhering to lists and things like that. It just gives you some ideas for balancing that out, and I thought it was very good. I'll finish up with the mysteries. I'll go ahead and go through the other smaller categories. 2 of the Christmas books that I read were also the 2 children's books, and one of them was a Mary Engelbreit illustrated book called The Night Before Christmas. This is the original text by Clement C. Moore, and I have it marked as a different Mary Engelbreit book on my Goodreads because I couldn't figure out how to review another edition of The Night Before Christmas without just switching it. And there used to be an easy way to do it. I used to know how to do it. And now I can't figure out how to do it. Sometimes I can do it accidentally when I don't want to. But this time I wanted to and I couldn't figure it out. So if you happen to look on my Goodreads, whatever Mary Engelbreit book that I said I read in January is not the one. This is the one I read. Storm also read this one in December, and that's how I even knew about it, because in December I had read The Nutcracker, which was illustrated by Mary Engelbreit, and really enjoyed it. This of course has gorgeous illustrations, and it was just very, very, very beautiful to read. And then the other one is a storybook version of The Best Christmas Pageant Ever by Barbara Robinson. Now, the reason I went and picked this up from the library is because when I was scrolling through my Goodreads, creating some shelves and things like that, I ran across this as having been read in 2023. And I looked at it and I thought, I don't remember reading a storybook version of that book, but I do remember listening to the original full-length version on audio, and that was not checked. So I kind of figured that I had accidentally marked this one instead of that one. So I fixed that, I changed that, and then I checked this one out from the library because I was intrigued to actually read this version, and it was super cute. Now, maybe I did read it back then and I just don't remember it, but really this was very well done, and all the important parts are there, and I just thought it was adorable. If you've never read The Herdmans, don't start with this one. Read The Best Christmas Pageant Ever by Barbara Robinson. It won't take you very long to read. If you've ever seen the play of it, the play actually goes pretty close to the actual movie. So, if you've seen the play, then you've, as much as read the book. But it's still a delightful book. It's a delightful trilogy. There is one called The Best School Year Ever and one called The Best Halloween Ever. And I've read all of them or listened to all of them twice, and I think they are great. But this one, this little storybook version was super cute. And if you are a fan of the book or the play, I would highly recommend this version. Now, while I'm talking about Christmas, I had one book of short stories, and it was this one, Christmas in My Heart, a timeless treasury of heartwarming stories, compiled and edited by Joe Wheeler. Now, he also wrote one or two of the stories in here, but this is mainly a collection of older short stories that are Christmas themed, and he started collecting these stories from various sources and putting them together in these volumes in order to keep them alive, basically. He didn't want some of these old stories to be forgotten. Some are some that you've probably heard of and read before, and others may be new to you, and they are all delightful. Either the first or second story, I got to the end and I was just in full out tears. I mean, it was so good. So I highly recommend these. I have read one of these other volumes that have a different set of stories. I want to collect all of these. I have this one and two others, and so I still got one more that I haven't read yet. I'll read it next year, but I thought this was delightful. The other little Christmassy themed book that I listened to was 1.5 in the Harmony Harbor series by Debbie Mason. This one was called Christmas with an Angel, and it, like I said, it was 1.5 in the series. I am buddy reading this whole Harmony Harbor series with Fiona from the channel Reads and Eats, and she noticed that there was a 1.5 book. We had read book 1 in December, and she said, hey, do you want to go ahead and read the 1.5 book now, because we had planned to start book 2 in February. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. It was like an hour and 12 minutes, not sped up, on audio, and it was a little more intense than the first book that we read. It definitely had some action and some intrigue and gunplay and all of that. So there was a lot of action packed into that little 1 hour and 12-minute book. But we both very much enjoyed it. And now we have started book 2 for February. So I had one more romance book in the month of January, and that was for Sarah, the Bookish Knitter's category romance book club that she started for this year, and the author pick for January was Marie Ferrarella, and I was up to book 5 in the Kavanaugh Justice series by this author, and so I picked it up. It's called The Strong Silent Type, and I read this one. This was enjoyable. I felt like the intimate scenes were maybe a little steamier than the other books in this series. I'm reading them in order, so I've read the first 4 now, and this was number 5. Hopefully that won't be an indication that the series is going that direction. I was comfortable enough with the amount of adult content that was in the first 4 books. I feel like this one kind of went up a notch, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm still committed to reading the series. I've collected most of them. They're very enjoyable stories. And there is an overarching storyline that was introduced in the earlier books, and good progress was made with that storyline in this book. So I enjoyed this, and I'm excited to pick up more in the series. Now, if you watch my Series About Series video, you know that I have a lot of different series on my various lists. And the goal was to read at least one from this series. So I may or may not pick up another one right away. I want to make sure that I cover, all the different series that are on my list before I, binge a lot of other print books. But it's very possible that I will read another one of these books at some point this year. So that covers the children's books, the short stories, and the romance books, and the nonfiction books. So I have left the 6 mysteries, plus my historical fiction book and my weird book. So the weird book that I read was Wicked by Gregory Maguire. I talked about this already in my January mid-month video, and then I mentioned it again when I did my Series About Series video. Several of you have advised me just to drop the series and don't worry about the next one. I'm taking all your advice under advisement. And I'm still thinking about it. So we shall see. And then the other category besides mysteries is historical fiction. And this one I read for book club. This is The Briar Club by Kate Quinn. And I already talked about this a little bit too in my mid-January video, that of the other Kate Quinn books that I've read, including this one, that I like this one the best. I didn't love everything about it, but it was definitely the most enjoyable of the Kate Quinn books that I've read. And it was very interesting. It's set in Washington, D.C. in 1950, and it's set at a boarding house, so you have a lot of different characters, and you get to hear their voice Each section is from the voice of each of the residents there, and I thought it was very compelling. And then the mysteries. So I had a few that were on ebook that were mysteries. I read 2 of the Hope Callahan cruise ship mysteries on my Kindle. I read book 7, which is Killer Karaoke, and then book 8, which is Sweet Revenge. This one was pretty intense. I don't want to spoil anything, but there are some of her family and extended family and former family members that are in this one, and it was pretty intense. So this has been a fantastic series. Then I read my X book for the ABC challenge that I've talked about several times, that the Kill Time with Cozy's group hosted back in 2022, and I'm still finishing it. But this was called The Zybalba Murders by Lynn Hamilton. Now, my friend Donna from Studio in the Library told me that she read this some time back. It's an archaeological mystery. Laura McClintock is the main character, and it took me a little bit to kind of dip my toes in and get a feel for the book and all of the historical references and everything, and I didn't understand everything, but it was very interesting, and I liked it well enough that I think I will seek out more of the books from the series. And I read this on ebook on Everand, and I believe Everand has several more of them. So it is a series that I will add to my SAS list and will pursue reading more of in the future. So those were my 3 ebooks. Then I had a couple of audiobooks that I don't have physical copies of. One was the number 5 book in the Crochet Mysteries by Betty Hechtman called You Better Not Die. This is a series set in California, and there are several very interesting characters in the Tarzana Hookers, the crochet group that meet in a bookstore. In this book, the owner of the store has decided to start selling yarn, which is great since he's got crocheters meeting there on a regular basis. You know, why not? This one was very good. I enjoyed it a lot, and we'll definitely plan to continue the series. Then also on audio, I listened to Sunsets, Sabbatical, and Scandal by Tanya Kappas. I checked out several of the books from the Campers and Criminals series in January, and this is the only one I finished. I started the next one, and I only got about a third of the way done because, like I said, I just have not been of a mind to listen to a lot of audiobooks. I have been more in the mood to watch and listen to YouTube videos and booktube videos. So I didn't get very far into the next one, but I do want to kind of step up my game a little bit because I've got several more of these to listen to before I get to my Z book, which is number 30. So the one I listened to is number 10, and I've got, like I said, the next several are checked out. I just need to get to those in February. And then I had one other mystery that I listened to on audio, but I've got a print copy here. I listened to this for book club, but I didn't get it done in time for book club, so I missed book club, but I did go ahead and finish it. This is We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. Now, I mentioned in my my mid-January video that I knew that Sarah had talked about how she loved this book, and I wondered if she had read it in print or listened on audio. She did comment that she had read it in print, and I see that. If I had it to do over again, I would make sure I gave myself enough time to read this in print because I just didn't get it. I had a hard time following the characters and keeping up with the storyline, and I think that I would have appreciated it much more if I had read it in print because I really did enjoy the Thursday Murder Club, and even though I listened to the second in the Thursday Murder Club, I read the first one in print, and it really gave me a good solid foundation for the characters and what was happening and everything. So I may go back and revisit this at some point. I don't have time to right now, but at some point I would like to go back and read this in print. Perhaps if this is the start of a series, which I think it is, I will read this in print before I tackle book 2. So that is everything that I finished. Now, I mentioned that I had 3 other books that I was planning to finish. I already talked about the number 11 Campers and Criminals book here. I will get that finished and move on to the next few. I also am reading Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. I think at the end of January 31st, I had about 125 pages left, and I was thinking, okay, do I want to just hurry and rush to finish this? And my answer to myself was no. There is no reason to race through this book. heard that it's a fantastic book, that it's just incredible, and so far it is very, very good. I'm really enjoying it. So I didn't want to like skim to the end and spoil it. I just want to keep reading it. So I just decided I'm just going to keep reading it, and when I finish it is when I finish it. And then I also had an ebook that I had started, and it's a novella. I had picked it up on Hoopla thinking, oh, this will be quick and fast and I'll get this read, but I just only got about a third of it done, and it is part of the Twilight Texas series by Lori Wilde, and I never got to the last and final book that I'm planning to listen to as well. So I thought, you know what, there's no point in rushing. I will just go ahead and finish them both in February, and you know, then I'll be done and caught up with that series. I can't say that I'm really enjoying this one, but because I've read almost everything in the series, I'm going to go ahead and finish it. I do enjoy having an ebook on my phone so that if I'm in a situation where I don't happen to have a book with me, which rarely if ever happens, but if ever I'm in that situation and I got a minute or two, it's super easy just to open up Hoopla and read a page. So it is good to have a book on the go on my phone, at least for me. And then I also mentioned that I was going to be reading Still Meadow Road by Gladys Tabor, and I just had too many other things going on, and I didn't even crack this open but once or twice. So now I've got to return it back to the library, but while I have it, I may go ahead and still read the January and February chapters. I only ever just got started reading the forward, which is several pages, and it's not due back for a couple more days. So I may go ahead and read January and February, check it back in, and then when I feel like I can really put some time into it, go ahead and check it out again and finish it up at that point. So that is everything that I finished, and a little bit about what I got started on. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books, or if you plan to, or what you read in January that was your favorite. But for now, that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.